Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Our second video for the day, but it is a topic that I did say I was going to cover eventually. You see, recently I've been getting back into Warhammer Fantasy Tabletop. Lockdown restrictions have ended, or at least lightened up for the time being, and I've decided to start picking it up again. Which obviously requires to have some list building. Naturally, when building up a list for the tabletop, you will require to pick some lords and heroes. In this regards, Total War Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy Tabletop are both very similar, where different heroes and lords have different battlefield roles. This makes sense, and we do have a large amount of different lords and hero options for a number of races. I'm talking about Total War Warhammer mostly in this regard. Some races in the Total War Warhammer series are lacking in lord and hero choices. We're getting them eventually, but it's taking some time. Now, one thing that we're lacking in the Total War Warhammer series is different weapons options for lords and heroes. What you're seeing on screen right now is the Empire Captain and the Empire General, both with sword and shield. Both of them work fairly well, relatively tanky characters, but nothing too special. However, it is important to note that they are the most generic of Empire characters for both lords and heroes. They're not really supposed to be anything too special, just something there as a baseline. In fact, this is the case for many of the lord and hero options in the Total War Warhammer series. They all play rather well, but there is something that I feel is missing from every lord and hero option for generic characters, and that is customization in the form of various different weapons. On the tabletop, you were very much able to get a general of the Empire and give him an additional hand weapon, or swap out his sword for a great weapon, a lance, a longbow, a pistol. It depends on what you wanted to build him for. It could be that you wanted to focus around heavy damage with great weapons, so you would have your general of the Empire with a great weapon joining up a massive force of Empire greatswords. Or you were more into the cavalry-focused armies, so it made sense to mount him on a horse and give him a lance, so that way he could be at the front and center of your charges. What you're seeing on screen right now are the weapon options that you could give to your General of the Empire in the Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition tabletop. The weapons were stylized for your choice of play. It wasn't a dramatic change, as it didn't really offer new abilities and so on for your character, but instead it was more for the player's choice. And it's something I feel we really need for the Total War Warhammer series. It's something rather minor. I'm not saying that we need 9 new generals of the Empire, each with their own unique mechanics and so on. Instead, they would all have their same mechanics. But rather, you should be able to recruit a general of the Empire and then decide through a separate tab what type of armaments you would want for him. You would be able to switch out weapons between turns to focus around what playstyle fits for you. There wouldn't be any mechanic changes whatsoever, seeing as it's still a general of the Empire. The only thing that would change is how the actual character deals damage. He'll be a bit faster if he has an additional hand weapon, hit a lot harder if he has a great weapon, and so on and so forth. By all means, a general of the Empire would not be as powerful with a longbow as, say for example, a huntsman, but the option should still be there. Thematic customability works extremely well in sandbox games, and we have to take into account that obviously the Total War series of games is very much a sandbox. Recently, we've been seeing modders implement weapon options as a mount option, which in truth works rather well. What is on screen right now are the Dark Elf Reavers added in by the SFO Grimhammer mod. These are the exact same characters, the only difference is one has a great weapon, another is using a sword and a crossbow, and the last one is dual wielding 2 swords. The same unit, with the same mechanics, the same look, and so on. Their only difference here is that of their weapon choices. And then again here we have the Empire General, once again with SFO Grimhammer, where your weapon choice is dictated by your mount choice. On foot, the basic hand weapon. Whilst mounted on a normal horse, you would have a hand weapon and shield, and then whilst mounted on a horse with barding, the general's weapon is then changed to a great weapon. Not a bad system. Another even possible option is the implementation of reskins when in regards to different weapon and mount options. Say for example here, once again with SFO Grimhammer, they have a Lord character known as a Grand Master. These are the Imperial leaders of the various different knightly orders of the Empire. When you pick the mount option that you would like, you would then have your character reskinned and also change its weapon loadout to fit its thematic form. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that needs to be implemented, but it could be a nice little extra. The weapon options themselves would bring a nice little bit of flavor, especially for those wanting more of a thematic playstyle and themed armies all around, including their lords and heroes. I've spoken to a few modders themselves who are implementing this type of system into their mods, and it's working rather well. And from my understanding, something like this could be rather easy to implement in an official way, seeing as most of the weapons are already implemented into the game via other units, lords and characters and so on. It's more of working around reskins and reskinned animations than anything else, as far as I gather. Of course, I could be wrong here. As I stated before, the stats themselves would be the only thing changing, as that would be the only thing needed to reflect the change of weapon. There would be no new mechanics or new systems, so it's not like a lot of balancing needs to be put into place here. Something like this could also be used to eliminate character bloat. The perfect example would be the High Elf Archmages. There are a lot of different High Elf Archmage characters, each of them with their own lore of magic, but that's what, 8-9 characters? It's quite heavy, and it means that could be a problem when it comes to trying to recruit a certain lore of magic, as the recruitment pool would be rather full, and thus it might take a few turns to find the lore of magic that you actually want. Or better yet said, finding the traits that you actually want. Say, instead of having multiple tabs, each dedicated to a different lore of magic, you would instead have a bunch of archmages, and then you would be able to pick the character you wanted, and through its character skill tree, then you'd be able to pick your lore of magic. Obviously, this works more for races and factions with a generic type of look for their spellcasters, characters, and so on. This wouldn't work so well, say for example for the Empire with their wizards, as depending on the lore of magic chosen, they have different skins and models. But this is just something I want to see implemented due to the fact that as a tabletop player, I was so used to customability. And it would be nice to be able to have different weapon options in regards to different lords and heroes. Players would be spoiled for choice and be able to use the weapon options that more suit their playstyle. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.